standing right there. That's not the right spot for me. What's a sump pump do?
Take away the bad water.
From where? What's bad water though?
It just takes water that goes into your basement. Yeah.
Through the what?
It's like a...
The foundation.
What? So there's pipes that go into the sump basket. What are those pipes called?
Isn't it from your yard?
Drain tile.
Yeah.
So you build the house, you wrap it with drain tile if there's any potential water coming in, right? Because you don't want it to come up into your basement. And you put the drain tiles underneath the concrete, and it dumps into a sump basket. All the water, all the basements you guys are in, if you ever see a basket, like it with a black lid, that's your sump basket. That's where all the drain tile leads to. Some houses don't need a sump pump. My house don't have one. I've got drain tile, I've got a basket, but I literally sealed it off.
I was gonna say
My house doesn't have anything.
In Minneapolis, I don't think there's many sump pumps.
No, there's not. There's not. But in all the suburbs, there is. Like some of my neighbors have theirs that are running 24/7. You know. Yep. Some springs, natural springs, will be spitting water into their basement constantly. So, hence the sump pump. Before we get to that, let's explain a little bit about the pump, Cole. Does nobody know what a sump pump is, how it works, what it does? This isn't Cole's Corner. This is just sump pump talk. Nick, journeyman plumber.
Yeah, Nick, you get in.
What's it do?
Yeah, water go out.
Oh, Jesus. Y'all are killing me.
We got like an actual basket.
Somebody plug that cord in. We'll show you what a sump pump does.
So does it only suck up water when it needs to?
Yep.
They're powerful.
They are powerful. So right now it'd be spitting the water outside the house. You can see the basket's getting empty, draining way down. There's a little float right there. Now that it's empty, the float turns off, and I mean that's the gist of it. They're very simple. As the water fills up, it'll turn the float on, it'll pump the water out of the house, rinse and repeat. Seems very simple, but they're also very important, because if that doesn't turn on, or something gets stuck in the float, or something fails, if the power goes out, let's kick this guy off. If the power goes out and your pump doesn't let you know that the power's out, you could have major damage. Our pump, this is our second pump. We have just the basic replacement, and then this one that will give you the alerts that, yeah, there's the basic pump. As you can hear, that one, we disconnected the power, so that one's gonna tell us, hey homeowner, you don't have power to your sump pump. It also has a Wi-Fi module that you can hook up to it. There you go, that's better. So it could send you alerts via email. Usually people don't know a lot about a sump pump until they have water damage. And then they realize sump pumps are pretty important. So they're rather inexpensive. One of the biggest things we see in the wintertime is a lot of people put these hoses that Cole's got there on their sump pump to get the water away from the house a little bit more, which is fine. It works. That's great. But you have to disconnect that in the winter, because that'll freeze, and then the pump will turn on, and sometimes, which happened to me once, the boot will break loose and it'll just start pouring water all over your basement, and other times it'll just stop the pump from pumping. And if it stops the pump from pumping, the water's going to go somewhere, and that's going to be all over your basement. So, questions about a sump pump? Yep, inside's always going to be glued PVC.
Okay.
That's what we use as plumbers, right? You'll see some pretty hacked up stuff. Inch and a half PVC.
Old homes have
PEX before. So there's no exception.
Copper, 3/4 copper I've seen.
Copper, yeah.
You can't reduce these things down. Can you? Sure. Should you? No, never. They do have a check valve on them. So right, it stops. There's still water above it, so it's gonna want to come down. This check valve is gonna lock. And the most important thing that I figured out the hard way with these is you have to drill a hole. This one got it? Oh, there it is. You have to drill a little hole, because when this check valve shuts, it's going to lock everything up, right? And there's water in there, and the pump won't turn on now because it's locked up. So you drill this little hole, 1/8 inch hole at an angle up like that, so that the water, this little bit of water, can dump back into the basket.
That's a check valve, right?
Check valve. Yep. So water can only go one way.
One way.
Biggest thing if you replace the sump pump, don't take the pipe off right here because there's the check valve. So all this water going to outside the house is with water in it. If you take that off, you're gonna get sprayed like I did earlier.
So give just a basic. You're there. Their pump's not working, and you got to change it, Cole.
Well, basically, you unplug the old one.
Pretty
You
important.
always take the clamp off on the bottom side of the check valve. Get your pump out of the way. I usually stick a screwdriver up there to open it slowly so it doesn't splash all the water down into the basket. Once the water's out, then I remove this check valve and then I put a new check valve back on. Grab my pump, make sure I have my airlock hole, hook it all back up. Make sure you get this band on all the way. Make sure you get your hose clamp nice and tight. Always check all of them. And then obviously that one goes out. Plug it in. If there's no water in it, grab buckets of water and make sure this float's kicking on and off and working properly and exiting outside the house before you leave. That's really all there is.
So that PVC, gonna have to play devil's advocate for a minute because no one else is speaking up. That doesn't come with the pumps.
This does not come with the pumps. We just have it pre-set up with the 1.5" male glued to it. Most of ours are just a threaded female fitting.
So does the pump have to go all the way to the ground?
It usually just sits at the bottom of the basket. This one has like little feet. It has little guards so the rocks don't get in there. If you're in a really sandy situation where their drain tile has been compromised or cut open and there's a lot in there, they do make a platform for these, or you could just use a landscape block to keep it 1.5", 2 inches off the bottom so it's not sucking all that slurry up in there.
And that's an 1.5" threaded fitting.
Yes.
Every pump that I know of, that's how they go on.
Pretty much, yeah.
This
Always
connection
use your
right here.
PVC pipe in the house, and if you want to exit it out further outside, hook your flexible hose on, but obviously remove in the wintertime. Otherwise you'll be calling us.
So normally it's hard pipe PVC. Stick it out about a foot past the house. There's no code. It can be by don't blow it right on an air conditioner, right? Use a little bit of common sense, but it can go anywhere. You can put it out, terminate it anywhere in the house. We've got the good, better, best, right? Unless you're in a huge house, our pumps, our basic pumps are going to work for everybody.
Okay.
And then our good, better, best, our first option is actually a 1/2 horse. But our better option of the Pro Series pump is only a 1/3 horse, but it has more head pressure and kicks out more gallons per minute than this 1/2 horse.
Okay.
Just because of the way the RPMs are on it.
It's a good question, though.
Okay. So you can always have that discussion with the homeowner as
Yep.
well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like if you have a very long run, then you'd want to
Yeah.
jump it up a size, most likely.
But I mean, most our basements you're in, right? They're going up and out. It's a very short run. That's just the way our,
26 feet of max head pressure.
Okay.
which means 26 feet up.
So that
Oh,
can
okay.
go. Yeah.
And you shoot it out the roof. You know,
Yeah.
obviously you wouldn't want to do that. That's
Yeah.
actually it might. That'd be a pretty cool little. If you had consistent water, have a little fountain on your roof.
A waterfall.
So every basement you're in today, look around a little bit. Look for that sump pump.
You can always buy the Wi-Fi module later on if they don't want to buy it with the kit.
As long as they don't get the basic one.
This one, you can get a battery backup kit to add to it down the road if they want a battery backup. This one you cannot. This is what you see is what you get. This one you can add the battery backup. Or if you want battery backup right away, we have this in a combo. So you get 2 pumps and a battery.
Okay.
And again, you'll find people, once they have damage, they're instantly a battery backup person, right? Because what happens when the storm comes and the rain's coming in hard
Well, and then
and the power goes out? Now
battery
your pump's not on.
backup combo kit is about the price of your insurance claim on top of all the work you
Right.
gotta do.
Right, it's cheaper than your insurance deductible to get a new one with a battery backup.
I mean, how do you know if it needs to be replaced? Like,
Pour-
how do you know if it's not working? Just
Try it.
Pour a bucket of water in the basket.
oh, and then if it's not sucking, then
Yep.
Okay.
Get a 5-gallon bucket, pour it in their basket. You should hear it kick on, pump the water out.
Sometimes
There's your check. It's
you
working.
go to a house, their whole tank is full of water, and you hit the float, or you plug it in and it just sits there and hums, but you can't see the water level, that means it's trying to pump, but the propeller or the motor just doesn't have enough power like it used to. Where
Sometimes the
it just
propeller
can't,
breaks off.
it just can't do it no more. Or there's something jammed in them. I mean, if they're an older one and they're jammed, there's no sense tearing it apart. Trying to, I think I fixed it. Just get a new one and then you know you're good.
This is a 15-minute install. Literally 15 minutes. You cut the PVC off, you take out, or you don't even have to cut, right? You just take it off, you screw the new
Yeah.
stuff onto the new one, for most cases. Always put a new, we always want you to put a new check valve on it, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't want to have problems with the check valve in a year or two. 'Cause with everything,
Well,
it's a
especially
3-year
being
warranty.
Clamped to an old pipe for 10, 15 years, you take it off, and then you're going to reclamp it to another one. You know, this is just rubber, it can wear out over time and crack. You just want to be safe. Instead of the pump kicking on and it blows this off, and then you got water in their house.
Okay.
So, all new when you do a new pump.
So Sebastian, did you take the top or the bottom off?
Bottom up.
Why?
Because otherwise you're gonna make a big mess because the water's shooting up and it's just gonna fall back in and
Right, because the top half is still full of water.
spray all over you. Yeah.
Yep.
And then take the bottom off. Then, like you said, stick a screwdriver in there. Make sure you open it up, drain it all, take the bottom off, and bring your new pump in.
Set it in the basket, hook it back up.
Seems pretty straightforward.
Always dump some water in it, make sure it's working. Right?
Okay.
Make sure.
And go outside too, make sure you see it flowing outside. That way you know that it's going outside. Because some homes, I actually have one this week, this is going into their city sewer.
Oh yeah, that was a thing
Okay.
back in the
Thing back
60s.
then.
Is
Or
that-
they have a couple of valves. City sewer in the winter, and then kick the valve off to go outside in the summer, which that's a big no-no. So you cap it off and divert it outside, all on its own.
About 3 years ago, the city of Egan had a list of people, and they were sending
Yeah.
homeowners notices in the mail, like get your sump pump out of your drains.
Most of them in Egan back then, they did this and they did
Yep.
it into their laundry tub.
Yep,
That's all it was.
Wow.
you
So,
can't do that.
You're not going to take this and go outside. You're going to take solid PVC and go outside with it. Glue joints and everything. Or if you even see it like that, let them know. Leave a bid. You know, this isn't how it's supposed to be.
Okay.
So if you see it like that, then yeah, I have to drill a new hole and put it outside.
Yep. So just look for the best route.
Good question.
Typically it's up and out. Sometimes you might have to go up, go across to that side of the house.
So why won't you need like a longer one?
Of this?
That never goes on the inside of the house.
It's only for outside.
That's to extend it on the outside. They
Just
say it's
outside.
spitting out on a favorite bush,
Or
right?
it's blowing out right here and you don't have gutters on your house and you got a low spot and this is the only place it's out. That water's gonna want to go back down, you know, if their pump runs a lot. So if you put that on and you get it out to here, it'll eventually evaporate out that way and not
Just to get away from
sucked in. And you gotta look for that at houses too if you're doing a new install. You know, if they got a walkout basement, there's no sense of drilling the hole and going out the front of the house where the elevation's higher. You might as well go out the side of the house because the grade of the hill goes that way. So you just think like water. Where's water gonna run? I want to run my pipe here and then the water will just shed right off the side of the house. And it'll never go back into the house. If you can get that right.
Does there have to be a fitting on the termination on the outside, like a
No,
45?
Not
or
unless,
Not
Really
unless-
good question, Seabass.
Not unless you're gonna put one of these on right away.
then you need a threaded fitting.
Threaded fitting, and then there's a clamp for this. But otherwise, you just usually stick about 1.5 inch PVC about a foot out of the house.
Okay.
By the time you stick it out here and that thing kicks on, it probably lands 3-4 feet out anyways. You know, it's not just dumping right here.
Okay.
Good questions. Nick, got any questions? Pretty simple stuff, right? We make water run downhill except for when we are making it run uphill. All right, well that's sump pumps 101 and 102 basically. Again, if you have a sump pump problem, give us a call, 651-362-2622, or look us up on the web, www.championplumbing.net. Thanks.